we will begin the program just so that we can keep track or stay on time, inshallah. So as other guests trickle in, Mahin, Mahin will share the PowerPoint presentation and we can get going.
Okay, great. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool. So let's begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah Azza wa Jal be upon you all. Thank you everyone for joining this session. For those that don't know, this is the Council on American Islamic Relations CAIR-New Jersey office. And today our staff from our Government Affairs and Advocacy Department are going to be discussing a few of the resources that we have recently published and some initiatives that we've been working on as it relates to the 2024 November elections. The primary, purpose of this call, this meeting, is to discuss our recent publication of our scorecard, which discusses legislation, bills, resolutions, and letters that are authored and voted for or not by our New Jersey congressional delegation. So our representatives in Washington, D.C., and where they stand on issues that impact our community. The scorecard and the issues that it discusses and the policies that it discusses will be discussed by Mahin, our government affairs associate, and Nancy, our government affairs manager. That'll be the bulk of the call. And then towards the end of this meeting, we will have Musa, who is our advocacy community relations coordinator. And Musa will discuss CAIR New Jersey's Vote for Justice initiative. This is CAIR New Jersey's approach to the GOTV Get Out the Vote efforts to encourage American Muslims to vote. So this in front of us, as you can see, is our agenda for the night. We're going to talk about how to access the scorecard. We're going to talk about, the general overview of the scorecard, the methodology that CAIR uses in drafting the scorecard, the bills and resolutions, some key bills and resolutions, not all of them. There are 20. We won't go into all 20. And then an explanation on how to understand and read the scorecard, right? There's a key and a legend interpreting that. And then we're going to go into some examples of representatives to give you a sense of what it looks like. And then Musa will go into the Vote for Justice. He'll share his screen to go into the website. And then we have a Q&A at the end. We'll try to leave some time towards the end for everyone who's here to ask questions. But with that said, I would encourage you all to use the chats feature to drop questions throughout the program so that you don't forget it, and then we can try to answer them at the end. Just so you all know, this is not being broadcasted live. This is not on Facebook. This is not on YouTube. This is just a, not a private, but a meeting amongst everyone here who is in attendance. But it is being recorded, and it will be published at a later time on our YouTube channel. So without any further delay, we can begin the program. So Mahin, go ahead and go on to the next slide.
All right, thank you for that. So as Saladin had said, my name is Mahin Mumtaz. I'm the Government Affairs Associate at CAIR New Jersey, and I'm going to be showing you all how to access the Congressional Scorecard firstly. So the direct link to the scorecard itself is just cair-nj.org/2024 scorecard. We made it super easy for everyone to just look up on their internet. But I also wanted to quickly show you guys how you can access it on our website. So here is our website. So it is under our resources tab. So if you go to resources, and then on the bottom it says 2024 Congressional Scorecard. So if you press that, and if you scroll down, and if you press this link over here, it opens up to the full PDF of the scorecard, which is great. But also, if you scroll down, we have each member of Congress in New Jersey. So if you press on any individual person, it'll go straight to their individual scorecard. So say you live in Donald Norcross's congressional district, which is District 1. So if I press his image over here, it goes straight to his individual scorecard. So you could see, you know, the way that he's voted on different bills and legislation if you're only interested in certain districts. Sorry, let me just go back. And now I'll just pass it on to Nancy, who'll go over the overview of the Congressional Scorecard.
Oh, we can't hear Nancy.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll just give you a brief overview about this Congressional Scorecard. So the 2024 Congressional Scorecard evaluates how New Jersey senators and representatives voted on key issues like civil rights, religious freedom, immigration, and more. So basically, it highlights their voting record, co-sponsorship of bills, and relevant public statements, like the letters that you will see later on, and you will find at the links that Maheen had mentioned, our website, as well as the PDF. So this tool helps the community understand their elected officials' positions on important matters, empowering informed voting decisions. So before we continue, I just want to give the disclaimer. So CAIR-New Jersey, as you know, is a 501c3, so it's a nonprofit organization, and as per IRS regulations, we do not endorse or oppose any political candidates or parties. We are strictly prohibited from participating in any political campaign activity, making public statements for or against any candidate. So the objective of the scorecard is not to tell you who to vote for, because this is something we cannot do, and we do not do, but is to give you just the facts, the voting record for each of those congressmen and women that you can then make, you know, a better decision when you're voting. Excuse me, as well as basically knowing about how they stand on many of the issues. So good question, how to evaluate Pascarel's district. So in another slide or two, I'll get into that, but thank you for asking that question. So basically our mission with this scorecard is to educate, inform, and empower the community on those key issues that affect our civil rights, religious freedom, and social justice. All the information provided in this presentation is only for educational purposes and is intended to encourage civil engagement as well as participation in the democratic process, but in a nonpartisan manner. So the methodology. How did we, or how were these bills that you will see here, 20 bills, I believe 11 opposed and 9 support, how were these bills or resolutions or even the letters selected? So we selected this mix of bills and resolutions because they address some of the most pressing issues impacting the Muslim community today. We wanted to make sure that this is, you know, to create a comprehensive scorecard that reflects a broad range of topics, including civil rights, immigration, religious freedom, international relations, and social justice, but also that it also, these issues that impact a broader, you know, percentage or survey of our community. So not for just specific individuals in our community, but for the broader community. So these bills and resolutions are critical for understanding how our elected officials are engaging with policies that affect not only Muslims, but all marginalized communities. Because you'll see many of these bills or resolutions actually apply to others, other communities. So they cross over, like things like immigration, or when you talk about police brutality or hate crimes, it affects many different marginalized communities. So this approach allows us to provide a clear and balanced perspective on those key issues that require attention and advocacy. So to answer the question that was asked, what about the congressional representatives? What about those congressmen or congresswomen that are not, you will not see them in the scorecard, or those specific districts? So, for example, you have Senator Bob Menendez. So why don't we have his voting record? So the objective of this scorecard is to present that information for active congressmen and congresswomen. So basically, these gentlemen are inactive, obviously, because two of them are deceased. And so their positions either have someone temporary or that the position is vacant. I think actually both positions are filled for the congressman as well as for the senator. But these are people that still have, they may have come in through a special election, but they have not yet, we don't know if they're going to be elected and stay permanently in those positions. So you will find those three congressmen's scorecards omitted because, again, we're really focusing on just the active congressmen in this scorecard. So we're going to, as Maheen had said, we've selected, for the scorecard, we've selected 20 bills and or resolutions. For the purposes of this presentation, just to give you an illustration, because obviously you can access the PDF as well as, the link yourself, and you can look at each of the 20 bills yourself as well. But you will see, we're just giving you, for the purpose of this presentation, just 10. We've selected to kind of discuss, just to give you an idea. So one, as you can see, HR 8034 or S3210. So HR 8034 means that's the number it was assigned in the House of Representatives. And several of these bills you'll find also, you can always update the status. You can go, we can, in the chat, provide the link. You can go in and constantly check on the status of this bill. Where is it now? Has it passed the House? Has it entered into the Senate? Where is it in the Senate? And then, of course, the final stage when it gets to the president or if it's signed into law. So the first one, Israel Security Supplemental Appropriations Act. So as you can see, I mean, this has to do with military aid to Israel. We put the keywords just so it's easier to kind of remember. So these keywords are military aid, Israel, national security, defense, foreign relations. The next bill, HR 5179, is Anti-BDS Labeling Act. So BDS obviously standing for boycott, divestment, and sanctions. So this is an Anti-BDS Labeling Act, and CAIR's position actually on the first two bills that I just mentioned is to oppose these bills. And this particular bill is to counter the BDS movement, as many of us know. And the keywords here is Israel, BDS movement, trade labeling, and consumer information. Next one, House Resolution 76. So removing a certain member from a certain standing committee of the House. Again, we oppose this because of this is obstructing free speech, Palestinian advocacy, political disputes, and accountability. These are the keywords that come to be when we talk about these bills. And of course, in the question and answer, if anyone has any questions about these bills, we can elaborate further on that. But just for the sake of time, we'll move on. And then again, question and answer, you're more than welcome to ask any questions. Next one, HR 6408 or S4136 to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to terminate the tax-exempt status of terrorist supporting organizations. Now, this is a very important one, and this is quite key because it affects most of us probably on this call, whether you are on the board of a masjid, whether you are a part of a nonprofit. Basically, it's a very critical bill, and this is one of the bills that CAIR has taken an interest in terms of advocating. When we have our congressional meetings, we're always bringing this up. And again, the keywords: terrorism, nonprofits, IRS, sanctions, financial accountability, because this gives a lot of power to the IRS that can very easily conduct a witch hunt and shut legitimate organizations down without proper evidence of any wrongdoing. So final one, HR 6090 or S4127 is another important one, Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. Keywords here: anti-Semitism, civil rights, hate crimes, education, IRA definition. So as most nonprofits, we are inclusive in the sense of, yes, we are against anti-Semitism. However, in this case, what is so problematic is the IRA definition. And for those of you who are not familiar with that, the IRA definition is very problematic because it's a very broad definition of anti-Semitism. So the IRA stands for International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And this definition, basically, there's blurred lines between being critical of the government of Israel or any government policies and anti-Semitism. So it's quite problematic. And this is, again, something that we do address a lot with our congressional meetings. And it's important for the community to be aware of that and to understand why it's problematic in the way that it's worded and the specific IRA definition that they're using. And this is something, again, that can kind of mute students because this is related to the Board of Education or Department of Education in terms of having them use the IRA definition, which would, again, impede on students' free speech in universities. So this is something very critical also for the community to know about.
Okay, so I will get into the next 5 bills that we want to cover tonight. So the first one is HR 4639/S2576, and this is the Fourth Amendment is Not for Sale Act. So this act aims to prevent law enforcement and intelligence agencies from obtaining subscriber or customer records. And we at CAIR-NJ Jersey support this bill because it aligns with the principles of protecting individual privacy rights and safeguarding against unwarranted surveillance. The next bill is HR 1573/S1912, and this is the Access to Counsel Act. So this bill seeks to repeal the travel bans that disproportionately affected Muslim majority countries and prevent further discriminatory bans based on religion. And CAIR-NJ Jersey supports this bill because it represents a crucial step towards promoting equality and protecting the rights of all individuals, regardless of their faith or nationality. The next bill is HR 8617/S4448, which is the Adoptee Citizenship Act of 2024. And this act seeks to resolve legal ambiguities faced by international adoptees and ensure that they have the same rights and status as other U.S. citizens. CAIR-NJ Jersey supports this bill because it addresses the injustices faced by international adoptees. The next bill is HR 4699, which is the People's Response Act. And this act emphasizes funding for non-police crisis response teams, such as mental health professionals and social workers, to address certain crises, such as mental health crisis. It seeks to reduce the reliance on law enforcement in these scenarios. And CAIR-NJ Jersey supports this bill because it fosters a new community dynamic that prioritizes care over criminalization. And the last bill is HR 4567, which is the Strengthening the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. And this act seeks to increase transparency in supply chain practices by requiring companies to demonstrate that their products are free from forced labor in the Xinjiang region of China. CAIR-New Jersey supports this bill because it addresses the urgent need to combat human rights abuses and hold corporations accountable for their supply chain practices. Next, I'll be going into a few letters that we have in the Congressional Scorecard. So the first one is a letter raising concerns over accuracy, due process, and civil rights violations with terrorism watch list. And CAIR-New Jersey supports this letter because it advocates for fairness, accountability, and the protection of individuals' rights. The next letter is a letter urging the U.S. to independently investigate the fatal shooting of Ayşenur Ezgi Egi, who was a Turkish-American citizen who was targeted and killed by the IDF in the West Bank. And CAIR-New Jersey supports this letter because it seeks justice for Ayşenur and advocates for a thorough examination of the circumstances surrounding her death. And the last letter that we have here is a letter condemning Columbia University's pro-Palestinian encampments. And CAIR-New Jersey opposes this letter because it infringes on the rights to free expression and the ability of students to peacefully protest in support of Palestine. So these were just 3 out of the 6 letters that we have on the Congressional Scorecard. And like Nancy said, if you have any other questions, please feel free to leave them in the chat or wait until the end for us to discuss. Next, I'll be going over an explanation of the key/legend that's on the Congressional Scorecard. So the first several ones relate to the representative status in office. So we have ISR, which indicates an incumbent seeking re-election. So this is a representative who currently holds the position they are running for. It means they want to keep that position and be elected again by the voters. And this is important to note because it demonstrates that the representative has an experience in that position and they have a voting record that we can rely on. So their voting record helps us understand their views on different policies, making it easier for us to decide if we should re-elect them or not. And then we have our AO, which is running for another office, which is pretty self-explanatory, but after that, we have NSE, which indicates a representative who is a non-incumbent seeking re-election. So in that case, this is someone who does not currently hold the position they are running for. So we might not have a clear voting record for them. And then we have the pluses and minuses. So a plus indicates that a representative voted in line with CAIR-New Jersey's position. So they either supported a bill that we support or opposed a bill that we oppose. And on the other hand, a negative minus sign is it indicates that a representative did not vote in line with CAIR-New Jersey's position. So they either opposed a bill that we support or supported a bill that we oppose. And I also want to clarify that there were some bills that we included in the scorecard that there was no vote held in either chamber of Congress. So for these bills, we still noted whether any representatives from New Jersey sponsored the bill. And so sponsoring a bill means that a member of Congress actively participates in the legislative process of the bill. So they either introduce the bill or work to get other lawmakers to support the bill. So going back to the key, SP means that that representative sponsored a bill that CAIR-New Jersey supports. And OP means that they sponsored a bill that CAIR-New Jersey opposes. And going into the letters, SL indicates a representative signed onto a letter that we support, and OL means that the representative signed onto a letter that CAIR-New Jersey opposes. I also want to clarify that if a representative did not sign onto a letter, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are against the letter itself. There are a variety of factors that might lead them to not sign on to a letter. They might not have been aware of it, or they could have been busy with other legislative work. So a lack of signature doesn't automatically mean they oppose it. And lastly, we have NV, which indicates that there was no vote held and the representative did not sponsor that bill either. So there's not enough information for us to indicate whether or not they support or oppose that bill. So next, I just wanted to briefly provide two examples of the scorecard in action almost. So we have the first two representatives that are on the scorecard, which is Senator Cory Booker and Congressman Donald Norcross, who is the representative from the 1st District of New Jersey. So you can see here that there are some bills in Cory Booker's scorecard that he sponsored a bill that we support, and there's some that he sponsored a bill that we oppose. There's a lot of NVs because there's just no vote on these types of bills in the Senate at least, but this kind of gives you some example of what sort of priorities he might have and what his voting record has been in the past. For Donald Norcross's, you could see some plus signs, which means that he, he's in line with CAIR-New Jersey's position. So he either supported a bill that we support or he opposed a bill that we oppose. And there are some negatives. So this kind of indicates that there are some bills that that he voted on that are in line with CAIR-New Jersey's position. So these are just two examples. Like we said before, we have these individual scorecards for each congressional representative in New Jersey. So we encourage everyone to look up their representative and see what their voting record is like. And before I move along, I wanted to pass it back to Saladin to mention a few things regarding our Vote for Justice initiative.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mahin. And thank you, Nancy, for that overview. A couple of things. So people may ask the question, why not give like a grading or a rating, like an A+ or a B+ or a percentage to indicate, how closely the representative is in line with CAIR's stance on all these issues. We are not allowed to do that. As a 501c3 nonprofit organization, because of our tax-exempt status, we cannot give grades or mark elected officials and those incumbents in that way. The most we can do, legally speaking, is to educate the public about the voting record of these elected officials. And then you, as community members, make the determination with this information on how to vote. So again, we don't tell you how to vote. We just give you the information. We compile it, make it easy for you. We distill all of the past years of voting into one document, and we outline the issues and accessible to you. You can read up. Everything is there. You can see CAIR's stance on each issue, whether it's opposing or supporting, and you can see how that representative voted. And then you read the scorecard and make the decision for yourself whether or not that candidate, that incumbent has voted in your favor in the way that you believe should be done. Now, thank you, Nancy and Mahin, for that. We're going to switch gears now, and we're going to go to discuss the Vote for Justice campaign. Now, the Vote for Justice campaign started earlier this year, and this is CAIR-New Jersey's attempt to mobilize Muslim voters. This is an effort that a lot of CAIR chapters across the country have adopted, and this is our kind of motto, our way of encouraging American Muslims to be civically engaged and vote. Again, we don't tell them who to vote for. We just tell them that they should use their power to vote. This effort is led by Musa Naji, our Advocacy and Community Relations Coordinator. You may have seen him at your masajid and throughout the community on the ground working. So we'll let him speak a little bit about the campaign and some of the efforts that he's been able to accomplish and what they intend to do between now and Election Day.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good, Musa.
Thank you, Salah. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Maheen. So I'm gonna go into what are some accomplishments we've had with Vote for Justice. What have we done? Where have we gone? And what will we continue to do for the up until the elections on November 5th, inshallah. But I'm gonna give a quick overview of why we started Vote for Justice, what was our mission, what were the goals. So if you can click on to the next slide, please. So Vote for Justice's mission, as Salah mentioned, was mainly the first is to educate the community about their voting rights, educate the community about the voices that they hold, the power in casting their ballots for the primary elections. So this initiative, Vote for Justice, we started back at the end of March during the primary elections. And the main focus is 3 points, as you can see on the screen: educating the community, fostering unity, and civic responsibility. We went around and spoke at different events. Salah and myself, back in April and May, we've tabled at different masajid, different Muslim local businesses across the state, to educate the Muslim community about the impact of their vote, and to ensure that they're empowered to participate in the democratic process for the primary elections back in June and for the upcoming general elections on November 5th. Vote for Justice, aside from being a get out and vote project, get out the vote, we don't want to just push people to go vote without acknowledging that we need to foster unity in the Muslim community. We're a very diverse community, and you can tell from the call itself, the different backgrounds that we have on this call. But our first and most identity is being Muslims. And when it comes to elections and when it comes to political candidates, that is what they see us as. They don't see us as from the ethnic backgrounds that we are, but to them, we're Muslims and we're a Muslim vote. And fostering unity is one of the main missions for the Vote for Justice project. And then civic responsibility, ensuring that we continue to encourage Muslim voters across the state to become more civically engaged, and also to recognize their civic duty when it comes to cultural engagement responsibilities, and their responsibilities as Muslim in a foreign country, in a non-Muslim country, to ensure that they understand that they have a sense of duty to be civically engaged, to participate in the privileges that they are given in this country, to ensure that, one, their voices are being heard, but also to protect their rights in the state of New Jersey, and for congressional candidates, presidential election, to ensure that there's a voice for Muslims outside of the country as well. We represent ourselves, but we also represent Muslims across the world when it comes to foreign policy. If you can go to the next slide. So community outreach, what have we done since end of March up until this point? We have tabled at 35 mosques, masajid, and Muslim establishments, which include private-owned Muslim businesses or other Muslim nonprofit organizations in the state. And we have utilized the mosque and Islamic organizations as educational platforms for voter registration and civic engagement. So we discussed the importance of voting. We discussed the mission, the 3 missions that we just mentioned, in ensuring that we continue to empower and educate people about their rights when it comes to voting. We can't tell people who to vote for, but we create resources such as the scorecard that would help people in deciding who to vote for, help the Muslim community in knowing how running candidates have voted, if incumbents running again have voted in the past, and whether they deserve the Muslim vote or not is up to you guys to decide. But tools such as the scorecard that was created is one way the Vote for Justice project went out and educated the community, and currently continues to civically engage the community. And it's with the help, as you can see, 35 masajid, it's with the help of other organizations and masajid across the state that we continue to this effort, and we have more masajid. So we have an upcoming 7 more masajid that we'll be visiting in the next 2 weeks. So if you haven't seen us at your masjid, inshallah, you'll be seeing us in the next, as upcoming Jum'ah and the following Jum'ah, inshallah. If you go to the next slide, please. And so what we've done, what is unique about Vote for Justice is that we have a software called TurboVote. and I'll go through a demonstration of how do you use the website. But TurboVote allows us to keep track of how many people we've registered, how many people we've helped check their registration, help people find their polling locations, and it's all in one website. But we are able to collect that data. Now we know exactly how many people, how successful was the project, how many people were we able to register to vote, how many Muslims are registered to vote in certain districts. And the goal is to continue to use this software in future elections, local elections, general elections, to ensure that we continue to keep record of how many Muslims are registered to vote in the state and use that to advantage as a negotiation point. If we're meeting with elected officials, we need to know how many of our community are registered to vote and are ready to vote and have came out and voted in the past, so that we can use that as a negotiation tool with elected officials to let them know that we have this number of Muslims in your county who are registered to vote, who have voted in the past, and will continue to vote. So if you want their vote, you have to adhere to the request that the Muslim community has. You have to be an ally of our community. And TurboVote allows us to do that because it allows us to keep track of the individuals that we've helped register to vote, and we continue to help register to vote, inshallah. Now, I know it says 519 individuals here, but I was just checking on our website we're on the call, and it's up to 532, and it will continue to go up into the November 5th elections. Because although we passed the registration deadline, we're still helping people check their registration. We're still assisting people with, when you check your registration, it allows us to know if you are registered or not. So we're continuing to identify more Muslims who are registered to vote. Although the deadline passed, but we continue to help people. We continue to help people find their polling locations and register by mail if they choose to do so before October 29th. So this is the last slide, but I want to quickly share my screen. Maheen, I'm just gonna reclaim the host for a second. And I want to go quickly over our Vote for Justice page and how you can use it to your benefit. So let me know once you see the screen, inshallah.
You're good, Musa.
Perfect. Thank you. So this is our Vote for Justice page. You can see in the link, if you have to type it in, it's just cair-nj.org/vote-for-justice, or you can just go to our website, CAIR-NJ, and you would see it in the top here, Vote for Justice tile. Once you open the page, this is what it looks like. It starts off with the general election is upcoming November 5th. It has the dates, but this is what's relevant for us. If obviously this has passed, register to vote, but this is something you can still do. It takes 30 seconds to a minute to check if you're registered to vote. You just click on the option and it will take you to the TurboVote website. So this is the TurboVote. Once you enter your first name, last name, date of birth, and your address, and click continue, it will tell you if you're registered to vote. And now we automatically have that data of another Muslim is registered to vote in this specific county. So it continues to increase the number of the data that we have. Aside from registering to vote, checking your registration, you can sign up for election reminders. And I highly suggest everybody to do this. You might forget that the deadline to register to sign up for a mail ballot, it's October 29th, but if you have this, it would automatically send you a reminder to do it last minute in case you forget. If you're planning on voting early in person and you holding it off until the last day, it will send you a reminder when is the last time for the last day to vote in person, and also send you reminders on November 5th itself, which you won't need a reminder because you see everybody going to polling locations, but it's still good to sign up beforehand. It can also help you with finding your polling place. So you just click on the site, and again, it'll take you straight to TurboVote. You can select New Jersey, and it will tell you, once you put your information, it will tell you where exactly your polling location is, the closest one near you based on your address. Last one here is volunteering with us. Like I said, we've been across 35 different masajid and Muslim organizations, businesses across the state, and we still have more coming up. So we have 7 masajid and potentially other speaking events. We need volunteers for all of them. So if you have the time, we highly encourage everybody to sign up to volunteer on the Vote for Justice project. Aside from tabling, we also have phone banking efforts coming up. this Thursday, the following Thursday, and on Tuesday, the day of the elections. If you are able to, please sign up. We would be doing phone banking from our office. But to go quickly over the rest of the website, there are deadlines here. If you just need to quickly understand which deadline instead of having to search it, you can always just check the Vote for Justice page. There's a countdown here. The scorecard is also on the Vote for Justice page. So you can always find it here. And then know your rights as voter. If you have issues on the day of, you can contact this number here for English, Spanish, Arabic, and for other languages. If you have issues, if you have questions about whether you are registered to vote, or whether you can vote or not, or if you have issue at the polling location the day of, I highly suggest you keep record of one of these numbers and contact them. And then there's FAQs, frequently asked questions. Why should I vote? It'll give you 10 reasons why. Who are the candidates? You can always find this on the links. Once you click here, it'll tell you who the candidates are. And then deciding who to vote for. Obviously, it won't tell you who to vote for, but it will give you an idea of how do you go about deciding who to vote for. And that is the Vote for Justice website. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and hand it back over to Salah.
Okay. Thank you, Musa, for running through the material there. All right, at this point, we can open up to Q&A. I want to tackle a few of the questions in the chat here. So really quickly, when is the last day to return your vote by mail kind of ballot? You can return that on the day of the election, November 5th by 8 p.m. As long as it's kind of posted by then, it's in the mailbox by then you're fine. So you have to submit that, but obviously don't wait till last minute. You don't want to run into any issues. But yes, you can put that in the mailbox in the morning of to be received by your mailman. So the day of, inshallah. And then there was another question here about the link. Can you share the website? So the website is in the chat. If you scroll up, I dropped both links, the Vote for Justice, that has everything there, and the Congressional Scorecard. Another question was asked, how many votes does a candidate cast for bills supporting the CAIR-New Jersey position before you deem that candidate cares about or supports our community's concerns or positions? We can't really make that assessment. That's your decision to kind of think about. That's something that we, by law, are not allowed to kind of assess. That's for the individual to come to their own terms with. Do you plan to add NJ state candidates to the dashboard? So this is only for incumbents, meaning only people who are in office at the moment. We don't talk about candidates because we're not allowed to. As a 501c3, we do not get involved in the race itself, and we don't talk about candidates. We only speak about people who are currently in office. Our job is just to educate. That's the extent of our responsibility and our rights. We can't do any more than that. It is difficult and frustrating at times. People, we're looking for more answers, but because of the limitations the law puts on our nonprofits, unfortunately, we can't do some of the things that people request of us. A question was asked, how do you evaluate Pasquarel? I think that was discussed. Pasquarel, Menendez, and Payne, they're not on the scorecard because those seats are vacant. We only talk about active representatives on the scorecard. Another question was asked, with our phone banking efforts, are you only calling people you registered? We are calling people who have registered as a primary kind of list, but then we go into our own list, which we also have our internal data that CAIR-New Jersey has of Muslims across the state of New Jersey. So once we hit the registered voters, then we go into our second list of Muslims across the state who may or may not be registered. But yeah, where can you find the score for local and okay, so we do not have scorecards for local boards and county incumbents. This scorecard is only for congressional representatives, people who are in Washington, D.C. Inshallah, in the future, once we expand our capacity, we'll consider publishing scorecards for more local positions and local government. But right now, we only have access to do Congress. Vote for Peace. If info uses CAIR and other orgs to endorse pro-Palestinian candidates. Yes. So allow me to make a clear distinction, and I can see where there's a little bit of a confusion. CAIR New Jersey is a 501c3 organization, but CAIR Action and CAIR Action PAC are different entities that do endorse candidates and do get involved in elections and races. So CAIR New Jersey is a C3 and is a nonprofit, but CAIR Action, when you see the word action, that is a different entity, that is a different body with different people and a different mission. And CAIR Action's mission is to endorse candidates, to support candidates, and gets directly involved in races. And that's a whole different ballgame. So we are not that organization. That is a separate organization. Just to offer clarity there. So any other questions, we would encourage you to drop it in the chat, or you can also raise your hand. There's the raise hand feature that we could potentially unmute you and allow you to ask your question. And while we wait for other questions to come in, we also want to encourage everyone to take this information and bring it to your family, to your friends, to your local community. Share it on WhatsApp, share it on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The goal here this material has been published for the public to educate themselves. So share it with people so that they too can get a better understanding of the incumbents that are currently in office. The further this material goes out, the better for our community. How do we know how many Muslims are engaged as poll workers this year? It's a great question. I don't know, and I don't think we have that number. So that would be an interesting thing to pursue and see if we can get more Muslims involved. If you have specific questions about your personal civil rights violations, I would encourage you to contact our office. Halima, let's allow her to ask her question. Are you unmuted?
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I just wanted since somebody mentioned poll workers, I if I could make a quick plug.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, we've been working on trying to find Arabic speaking poll workers in Passaic County since maybe July now. We have an application up on PAC's website. We're asking for people to apply because we are not counted in the census. We are denied language access to the polls, and even though we can get people registered in Arabic, we need help at the polls. So if anybody knows anybody who's Arabic speaking and is interested in becoming a poll worker, I've built a relationship with the Passaic County office, and I would love to be able to get some Arabic speaking poll workers.
Can we
in for
ask you
this
to drop
election.
the link in the chat?
Yeah, I can grab it for you right now, but that's something that we want to make sure that we have every year. It's $300. You get paid $300 for the day. You only need to be trained once, and there's trainings, I believe, every week. The training is not paid. The training is also free. So, but once you are there, you get paid $300 for the day. I'll grab you the link right now.
Awesome.
And Halima, is this specifically for Passaic County, or are you looking for Arabic speakers in all different counties?
So PAC specifically right now is working on Passaic County, but I encourage everyone to apply. You don't need to apply in their county, and you can apply through the superintendent of elections office. So if in any county, you should be able to apply through your elections office.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Halima. For those that don't know, Halima is with PAC, the Palestinian American Community Center. That's located in Clifton, New Jersey, and they do amazing work on the ground, getting out the Palestinian and Muslim vote.
We're very happy to be working with CAIR.
Alhamdulillah. A question was asked, is it safe and secure to vote by mail? Absolutely. And we encourage people to vote by mail because of the convenience there. So if you were someone who received it, and you have that option, go ahead and submit. It makes life a lot easier for you, because all you have to do is go and submit to your mailbox, in advance of the election. So definitely go ahead and do that. And vote by mail gets counted in the same way any other vote does. So the value is no less. So I would encourage people to do that. But if you don't have that option, early voting is an option as well. So don't forget, we can vote early in New Jersey, which is a great convenience, alhamdulillah, for us that we have that option. Any other questions? Please feel free to raise your hand. Our team member and paralegal at CAIR New Jersey, Nejda, has dropped a couple of contact information in terms of protections for voters. So I believe that this is in case you run into issues, right, Nejda? If you run into issues while voting, I believe you can call that number. But if I'm incorrect, please add explanation. But I think we have a question by Ala. So Ala, go ahead.
Hey, assalamu alaikum, everybody. Jazakallah khair for all the hard work that you do. It was a wonderful presentation. I'm really hoping that the majority of our community take some time to at least view the recording or have another session and hopefully have a much larger audience. My question is, it seems as though based on what I've been reading and seeing that there's a large flock of people moving towards early voting, specifically vote by mail. I think, if we learned anything from this past primary with Mayor Khairallah and Bill Pascrell, a lot of people, sent in a mail-in ballot. I'm just wondering, is there like a high-level initiative to try to educate our community about it? Because I feel like, maybe after COVID, people don't recall how easy it could be to just fill out that paperwork straight from home, drop it in the mailbox, get it done very early on. And I think that's a big opportunity for us, especially when we're talking about, some of the elders in our community in their 60s and 70s and 80s that make it a lot more likely for them to actually fill out the vote and make it like a family thing where, they actually have a civic discussion around the dinner table to kind of have a game plan. And that's something I feel like we could and should encourage in our community, inshallah.
Musa, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I will say we definitely, so at least for the tablings and speaking engagements, what we've done, we always emphasize, put more emphasis on voting by mail and voting early. Some people are skeptical about voting by mail, but as to the last points, it is perfectly safe. It is absolutely safe to vote by mail. It is a lot more convenient. So we do advocate for people to vote by mail. During these tablings, when people come up to me and ask me like how long is it a hard process to vote, like on election day? On election day, it might be. I mean, you might be online for a while. That's why you have the opportunity, the privilege of voting in person early. You can vote on the weekends, and that's the great thing about voting early in person. It's Saturday, Sunday, and then you have the weekday, and then you have Saturday, Sunday next weekend. So it starts this Saturday, coming up on the 26th, and ends the Sunday of the 3rd. So you can do it on the weekend conveniently if you have work on the weekdays. But voting by mail is definitely something that we push for first. So voting by mail is always the first option that I suggest to people, because the mail comes to your house. You just highlight which the ballot the way that you want. You seal it and you just drop it in the mailbox. It's very convenient. You can drop it off on your way to work. You can drop it off when you go run an errand to the supermarket or whatever you're doing. It's the most convenient option, and we definitely push for it when we're tabling and whenever we're doing speaking engagements about vote for justice. It's always the first option. Please make sure you vote by mail. It's the easiest option we have. But again, to like the people that are skeptical, we try to reassure them that it is perfectly safe. And it is an easier option, but if not, vote early in person. The last resolution should be to vote on election day itself.
Yeah, also, another point that was mentioned in the chat is your ballot can be dropped in the ballot boxes, so you don't have to mail it back. So if you feel safer doing it that way, now there's obviously you have to find the ballot boxes. They're all located at different places, but usually they're located near like city halls or like police departments or public libraries. I know in my town it's near the municipal building. And each county has, different locations and how many, but you can find that information, I think, on the Vote for Justice page. I believe it shows you the locations of these ballot boxes. They're full, they look like mailboxes, but they're there to receive the ballots only. Oh, yeah. Okay, so any other questions? I think we can wrap it up. It's 8 o'clock actually. Thank you to the CAIR-New Jersey team. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Mahin. Thank you, Musa. Alhamdulillah. We're very excited that we get to roll out these resources to the community. As Muslim Americans, we really have to fulfill our obligation to be civically engaged and active, right? We see so many atrocities and difficulties and challenges that the Ummah is facing. And here in America, we have the unique opportunity to make a difference. We have the unique opportunity to kind of leverage our rights as citizens to make the world a better place, a more inclusive place where, war and violence, ceases, and we are able to bring about peaceful resolutions through our voting power, right? To speak up. This is what's been made available to us as individuals. So don't belittle this opportunity. Don't think of it as small. Don't think of it as insignificant. Vote your conscience, vote for justice. These are this is what we are calling for people to do. Make, the educational decision on your own, and vote for whoever you wish to vote for. We just ask that Muslims vote. Share this information. And if you have any issues, of course, CAIR-N Jersey is always here to support you. Our team is here to support you. So if you face any challenges or difficulties, be it at your place of employment, at school, universities, in public, any sort of harassment or intimidation. Sorry, for the background noise. Please contact our office. We're always here to support, inshallah. And as a reminder, CAIR is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we do look for the support from the community. So financially contributing to our office allows us to continue offering these important services to the community, producing this educational material, the legal representation, and the advocacy work that we do day in and day out. So consider supporting our organization, inshallah, financially. We probably will do other programming like this before the election to answer that question in the chat. But you'll find this one online on YouTube, inshallah. It's recorded and it'll be posted. So with that, thank you everyone. Jazakallah khairan. May Allah bless everyone's efforts and use us for good, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum and have a good night.
Assalamu alaikum.